Dude, rocking and rolling. It's been a crazy week. How are you doing?
I am ready to close this summer bitch out.
That's right, baby. Ah, Consider it a little last drop, which is always a good time. So,
Absolutely. Well, welcome to the last drop. If you've never been here, I'm, of course, Jake, and I got Dave. And we are going to have a great time talking about a new business idea and how we would take it to market.
yeah, I'm excited. You always come up with good ideas. What's our idea today, Jake?
So, our idea today that we're going to work through all of the logistics, ideation, workflow issues, financing, marketing, bring to market persona, whatever we need to do to make this thing the next billion-dollar company. It is going to be an app.
Da 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 da. What
We're
kind
going
of
to do
it?
an app today. And here's the app concept.
Okay.
The app concept is an Uber-like service, or DoorDash-like service, if you will, where local homeowners and business and property owners can get connected with certified handymen to get the projects done that they need done quickly without, sourcing around a bunch of people and making sure they got the right tools.
Nice.
And this
Okay.
app is going to be called Honeydew.
Perfect. Perfect.
So, we've got a show concept, but that's not the only thing we do here on The Last Drop, is it, Dave?
It's not. It's not.
It's not The Last Drop unless there's something to have the last drop of. So, what are we drinking this week?
We're drinking a fabulous Kuleana Rum. This is a rum that comes from organic farms in Hawaii. Little did I know until I had one of the owners and founders on Unicorn Campaigns podcast that sugarcane comes from Hawaii. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Maybe I knew that.
Yeah, it all got taken and then exported to the Caribbean. And the thing that's interesting about this particular rum, my dear friends, it's not taken from the scraps of the sugarcane. It's taken from the freshly harvested sugarcane, which is vastly different than any other rum. So this is a very clean, smooth tasting. Ooh, beautiful nose, lovely bouquet. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. All right. Well, we've got a drink and we've got a wild idea. It's time to build a business down to the last drop. It's going to get crazy, so hold on to your glass. Where do we start?
All right, first things first. What are the parameters for our app? Because, there are other services that are out there, like Angie's List and Pro Finders. There's different sites that you kind of would go on and you would find similar services. So, as you think through this, you said it's like the Uber or the DoorDash. Is this a thing that happens like really fast? Like, what is the differentiator in your mind?
I think that is the differentiator.
Yeah.
I'm not shopping. I'm getting this the hell done.
Yeah. It's the honeydew list. We're getting it done.
It's the
today.
honeydew. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I want a contractor who's available either now or within the next 24 hours.
So this is kind of interesting too, because it helps out the small businesses. It's almost like we're in Orbitz or Booking.com or something for remnant airfare or hotels. Like, if no one buys it, it's just going to be wasted time. And so there's actually a way that you can charge a little bit more because it's last minute maybe, but also take up some more of the spare time that you have. I love it.
Well, I've worked with a lot of contractors in the past, and their biggest thing is staying busy. They want to be out in their truck 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And so if we can provide them a way to always be working, we can actually take the chuck in a truck model and make it actually into a business for these guys.
Yeah. I love that, man. And I think the thing that's challenging about some of these, because you mentioned this at the top, is having the right tools, having the right skill sets. So I think a key part of this app too is I kind of think about, have you ever rented a Turo?
I have.
Okay, so in Turo, I love this, by the way. They're like, hey, you just got your car. If you guys don't know what it is, it's basically like a Airbnb for car rentals. I actually love it. I think it's 100 times better than going with a traditional car rental service because they actually give you your car. They know how to take the reservation and keep it, as Jerry Seinfeld would say.
Thanks, Seinfeld. Oh, man. Probably my most quoted Seinfeld line.
God, it's so good.
They know how to take the reservation, but they don't know how to hold.
Don't know how to hold. And the holding of the reservation is really the most important part.
Anyone can just take them.
Just grabbing tickets everywhere. I think that so one of the things that's interesting about the Turo app is as soon as you get to your car, it's like, hey, you can unlock it. And then it has you take photos of specific angles of the car. And they give you like recommendations, front on, side panel right, side panel left, kind of quarter panel, and going all the way around the car. And then it even has you take some pictures inside the car, just so if there was some damage, they could say, well, look, it was already there or whatever. And so I kind of think that as a part of this, you would have either a video submission, because I think that gives people a good bit of context, and or maybe some photos as well within the app. I mean, that way, whenever a professional gets it, a contractor, whoever, then go, oh, I know exactly what it's looking at. I know what you're looking for. And then maybe there's a way for them to respond back and forth even of like, hey, show me how thick that wire gauge is. Or, tell me what, and just giving a little bit more context. Is there another way that you would see kind of that information gathering piece to the app working?
It's interesting that you took it from the project angle. I was thinking more of it from the contractor angle, where it's like, I can't do pipe work because I don't have pipe fitting tools. Okay. So I can't take pipe fitting jobs. But I do have electrical termination gear, so I can take some electrical jobs. And so it's on the contractor to prove certain tools. And then one thing that I love, and we don't talk much about LinkedIn as an innovator in too many things.
That's true.
But one of the things I love about LinkedIn is that you can leave another person a review on a specific skill.
That's true.
And so I think that would be really cool. That's like, this job had drywall and electrical and painting all as part of the project, and you can leave an individual review of that contractor on each skill.
Love that.
So I think that there's a kind of like a upfront, you kind of have to categorize projects and say, you need these minimum tools, prove you have them, take pictures of your tools or something, just to get certified to do that type of project. And then on the flip side, getting those skill-specific reviews is actually more helpful than this contractor blows. They showed up at noon reeking of Taco Bell and tobacco, and or whatever it is. Like, those never help you. Was he good? Was the project awesome? Because I can bear that for 6 hours if that's the case.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. Yeah, I think it's an interesting way for you to you're looking at it from the contractor side. They're saying, hey, I've got the skill set. Other people in it are basically endorsing it, would be the idea. And then the consumer is able to go, oh, Jim Bob can totally come do this plumbing thing because he did similar projects before. How do you do that when you're launching the product in a new region, right? Or even like you're just launching. So like, let's say that we pick a city and we said Kansas City. I don't know. It's in the middle of the country. It sounds interesting. You're in Kansas City. You're like, we're going to launch there. Heartland. Let's go. Are you going straight to the contractors because they're the ones that are like, dude, I will pay for leads all day, bro?
Yeah, I think so. apps are interesting because there's, in my personal way I categorize things, there's two types of apps. There's apps that are for me and I can just consume them. And there are apps that require a database of users to be effective. There's a minimum number of users that make it effective.
Yep.
With something like this, I would almost spend 3 months reaching out to every contractor I could find in the city and getting them on board first, onboarded, set up with the app.
Yeah.
And then do some kind of big push advertising wise to get people to start putting projects on that platform.
Okay. When you think about, so like, I get it for the contractors, the people that are working, they're like, dude, I need more business. I need more help. From the flip side, you know, you've got the consumers that are going to be engaging with the platform. They're the ones that really drive this thing. When you're kind of putting it out there, is it like, what do you think the hook is for them? It's like, is it the, hey, you have a project and you don't just need to get it done. You need to get it done right now.
Mm-hmm.
Contact us and we'll connect you with a perfect match for your specific project.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a 2-part to that. One is intercepting people as they're looking for the contractors. We want to redirect them into the app. So how do I replace my door lock? How do I install a, doorbell camera? How do I wire an entertainment center? Those kinds of searches, get them to pivot over into the app and try and use a contractor through there. So that's like part 1. And then part 2 is just telling them, like, no job too small, contractors available now.
Yeah.
Because I also think there's a marketplace here for older people who are like, I need this light bulb changed.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. And I think it's a real thing where there are specific kinds of people that this works for. So there's the older crowd that's like, hey, I don't want to do this. I just don't. It takes so much out of me physically to do this. I don't want to do it. You've got the people like you and I who are executives, business owners, and trying to be like, dude, we literally max out our time. Every square inch of the day is just chock full with either work or family. And there's like a very small, slim margin for just personal time. So we have to eat into that to do a project. And if we can just find somebody and just be like, oh, Susan can be here on Monday at 1:30, book it. Like that would be huge. But I also think there's the other crowd too, which is like, they just don't know how to do this thing. And you can YouTube anything, right? Like anything is YouTubeable now. And it's like, dude, I don't want to. It's such a hassle.
Yeah. I think what's cool about this app, too, is it's so broad in what you could get done. You could have the guy who comes and changes light bulbs in the air filters. You could have a guy who refills your water softener. You could have a guy who cleans your gutters. You could have a guy who, hauls junk away. It doesn't matter what the odd job is. It's an option. And I think what would be really interesting is that businesses that are established are going to be attracted to this because we're going to do all the lead sourcing for them.
Yes. Yep.
Now,
and I think that this it becomes a marketplace. And I think that the thing that is really interesting is the marketplace that matches you with a candidate or with a company or with a, opportunity to go do some work that is like instantaneous. Because I think about how Uber works, to your point, or DoorDash. It's like, if I go put in an Uber Eats order, it's going to take about, 5 minutes to find a person that's 5 to 10 that's going to actually take on that job. They're going to call and make the order. It's going to be about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how far you are away from that location. well, just for that place to make the food, and then however far away you are from that location.
Mm-hmm.
That whole process could take an hour and a half, 2 hours. I've had it take 2 hours before, and we weren't that far away, but it was just like stuff gets slow sometimes. But I didn't have to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I know exactly what I mean. And I think that there is something to right now, millennials, Gen Z, they don't, those two generations in particular, they don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to have the phone call.
No.
They'd rather just be like, hey, here's my project. Here's what I've got going. I want it done before this time tomorrow. And people just be like, I can be there in 2 hours. Great.
Yeah.
love
So what I was going to say, though, and I do want to get into a bit more of the logistics and then the marketing of this. The one thing that scares me is what happens when unions and big established businesses really hate you. Because how does Jiffy Lube make money? You got to drive over to Jiffy Lube.
Sure.
But if I can go on my app, my Honeydew app, and find a 19-year-old who just needs a couple extra bucks, who's like, I'll come and change your oil and your filters for you. I'll swing by AutoZone and pick everything up on the way. Just tell me your make and model. That's going to cripple some industries.
Totally. Yeah, I think that there's there's always going to be that pushback, and I think that it's appropriate for you to say, like, use the analogy of Uber. When we think about how Uber came out, they got so much pushback immediately from taxis. We look at what's happening right now with Airbnb. They kind of had a lag on the pushback on their stuff because I don't think that the hotel industry really thought that it was going to be competing with their space until much later. Mm-hmm. And so they've done a good job of beating back Airbnb by saying, hey, look, housing prices are too high. Can't keep doing this. So I do think, there's a well-known stat. I used to live in Washington, D.C. and work with people on Capitol Hill, and I used to work with a number of lobbyists. And the going numbers in 2018 was that if you spent $1 for lobbying, you got $44 back in a return. Like, the return is just so insane. Yeah, it's crazy. So I think that one of the things, to your point here, is you have to almost immediately parallel path this thing with, like, building out the application, finding the contractors, going to market, and there's this other fourth kind of secret hand that is going, we're lobbying immediately to keep this to keep the lanes open.
Well, I mean, you're functionally taking Uber's model. All the work Uber has done for you with everyone being a 1099 and getting their tax reports and everything through Uber. Like, I don't know if you ever signed up to be an Uber driver.
I've not.
I did at one point because I was just curious.
Oh, fun.
Like, I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
And so I went through the whole process. I am a certified Uber driver.
Heck yeah, you are.
I've only ever driven 2 rides because it was miserable and I hated it.
Hilarious.
But
yes.
It's a job. Like, they are all the way to the nines with the legal and everything.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things that you have to have that stuff buttoned up, man. Like, you just do. Gotta have it buttoned up.
I mean, and then what would be really crazy about this, and Uber and Uber Eats specifically took advantage of this, is like throwing in the financing, the Klarna financing on this, and then you could go an extra step further and issue a digital credit card if there's materials needed for the project. Issue a one-time digital credit card to the worker to go get the materials so he's not out of pocket. So now you've got more people who want to come in and do it. I mean, there's a lot of space to maneuver in this.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing, I can't remember if we talked about it on last drop or another podcast, but one of the things that comes up all the time, Jake, is like most people don't know, speaking of credit cards, that the way that airlines are actually profitable right now, it's not because of your butts in a seat. It's not, that's just a subsidy. They make their money by the things that are shipped underneath your feet in the cargo, and they really have the profit from selling you credit cards.
I got to get my miles.
That's the dirty secret. That's right. It's the dirty secret of the airline industry. We think that we pay a lot for the seat, and I'm not saying that they're cheap, but in relation to what it actually costs to run the airplane and to pay the pilots and the flight attendants and the ground crew and the ticketing agent and the gate agent and all of the people, it just pales in comparison to the other two items. And so I think that the credit card idea is genius, man.
Yeah.
I think it's genius.
Okay. Enough about logistics of the app. I need to build the thing. Where do we even start if we wanted to build an app? Like, what's the starting spot for that?
Yeah, I mean, you can go a lot of different... So we live in a time in 2025 where you can build no-code apps. And, I mean, it's a way to go through it. There are so many templated app builders just like there are templated website builders now. And they publish and they work. I think that if you're going to do this, however... this is not like a small swing, in my opinion. I don't think this is a bootstrap. And the reason why I say that is you're talking about mass market, mass adoption, cross the U.S. at least. It may be cross North America. It may be cross the globe, depending on how far you want to take this thing, because this model has efficacy around the world, I think. May not be for every country, but I think that there are a lot of countries that people will be like, sign me up, I'm in. And I think that requires different sets of logistics, not only in how you build the app, because you're going to have complexity in order to have simplicity for the users. And that's tough. So I think that as you kind of go to build it, one of the things that I would do is I would be working with a team that's built large apps before. So I'd be looking for who put together the MVP for DoorDash? Who put together the MVP for Uber? Who put together something that was a minimum viable product for some of these large brands that have really scaled? And I'm sure they've brought that development in-house, right? But are there any outsourced teams that have done work like this before, that they're building an architecture that's not designed for just Kansas City? It's designed for every municipality of size in the United States, and we want to get there within the next 6 to 9 months so that we can really hit every single market with advertisements for people to use the service. I mean, does that sound in line with what you were thinking, or would you do it differently?
I think this is more than vibe coding at a certain point.
Yeah, right.
As much as I'm a fan of the vibe code.
Yep.
But yeah, I think you have to have... This is like you said, not a bootstrapper. You're going to need some capital going into this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's part of the conversation here, too, is that you're going to have to go put together a pitch deck. And this requires a different kind of investor, too. So a lot of times you can go get, like, private equity backed. You and I enjoy private equity. The benefits of it, and it actually has a lot less red tape and minutia, and if you have a good PE firm, you can actually do some pretty cool things. But I think that this is a VC firm, a venture capital backed play, and the reason for that is VC based, what they're going to do, they're only going to hit 1 out of 20. That's their numbers. And so they'll give a startup like this 15, 20, 30 million for a good chunk of the stock. And they're going to say, go spend it, fam. Go make it work. See what we can get done. So then you go spend that money kind of as quick as you can, because they would rather you fail fast and go, we're going to shelve that project, than drag that 30 million out over 4 years and never really get going. So they're going to be pushing you hard, which means you're going to need a team that's really unbelievable. Like, I think that's the second piece. We haven't talked about this in previous episodes. I think this particular kind of project where you're doing a VC-backed firm, the leadership team, you don't have time for them to get up to speed. You need 10, 12 people that are killers, man, that are just like, dude, I know exactly how to run my department. This is the vision. We're going to get lockstep, and we're going to run with it. Because it's just a different
You're going to go
speed.
get an ex-DoorDash exec.
That's it.
Or something like that.
Yeah, and you're probably going to do the thing where you go, look, I know you were making, $450,000 a year. We're going to give you $120, but we're going to give you so much stock that when this thing goes big, you're going to be like, oh my God, I got everything back times, 20 based off what we kind of sacrificed on the front end. And it's a different mode of operation, but it's one that, to your point, you're going to go get some people that really know how to run things.
Yeah. Okay, you've got the staff, you've got an app. How do you get this thing out? Obviously, you have 2 audiences you need to hit. How do you do a split audience launch like that?
So my favorite way to do this is, I love to go to the contractors first and say, hey guys, we want to get you in on the ground floor. We only charge you whenever you get paid. We're not going to charge you to run ads, at least not to start with. And we're going to take a small percentage of what the overall project is once you book it and you get paid. So I would do the processing, because then you can do the credit card processing fee as well. So you get to keep that. And that's a great little hack, because that 2.9% adds up. And then the next thing I would do is I would tell the contractor, hey guys, what are you guys paying Angie's List? And they're going to say, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm just going to guess here based off what I do know other software like that charges. It's going to be somewhere between 20 and 40%. So I'd go in and say, guys, we're only going to take 10%. We're going to be half the cost on the low end. And they're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm paying 35% right now. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic, right? And so then at that point, it becomes a really easy conversation of like, dude, we're cheaper. We're getting all of your excess inventory soaked up so that it's only when you have that excess inventory that you're going to be getting this job. When you don't have excess inventory, guess what? It's going to go to another contractor that also has that excess inventory, but you don't care because you're already slammed. And if you do care and you're like, I want more of that, great, go hire another staff member, put them on the payroll, and just have them run these routes all day, every day, man. And then you have a whole new revenue stream at that point, and you can charge a premium because it's last minute. It's quick. It's fast. We all charge a premium for Uber Eats, right? And so I think that that's kind of the way that I would go first, is going to tap into that, because I think that once you get the contractors on, all their information, what can they do, and there is an onboarding process. I think that you try and do white glove onboarding for that first city, or maybe it's the first 100 contractors in a metropolitan area. I don't know what it is exactly, but something of that nature where it's like, dude, if you're first, we help you get set up all on your own. It's not self-serve. And then that really builds that relationship and trust with the contractor. And then I think at that point, once you have contractors on the platform, now you can say, hey, we're going to build demand. If it's we're launching in August 1, then we're going to have contractors ready to go before June 1st. And then June 1st, we're going to start running awareness campaigns, billboards, linear TV ad, OTT, CTV, Spotify, radio. Like, dude, it's a media blitz. And then you roll out, hey, we're launching August 1 or whatever. You really tease it out, and then you have it go live. What would you do, man? How would you split up the audience, and how would you kind of work with it?
Yeah, I'm generally in agreement. I think you got to go contractors first. You have to deliver something, and the delivery is the contractor, right? So you got to have a product. They're your product. So you got to go build that up first. What kind of incentives you give them, I mean, the incentive is already, we're doing lead gen for you, which if you've ever met a contractor, is their largest complaint, and it's not even close. You know, the next complaint down is, I need a bigger saw. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's way down the rung of like priorities. Yeah,
exactly. So, hey, we'll get you leads. We're going to run all this marketing. I mean, you could even flash the stacks in front of them and be like, we're planning to do a $5 million campaign in this city to promote this. And if you sign up, you're getting those leads, you know? So I definitely think that that's the first route to go. The second side, getting the actual users on the platform. That's where I'm kind of torn, because you can pitch this multiple different ways, but when you're doing something that can be pitched multiple different ways at launch, is it best to stick with one idea, one like core, or is it good to kind of shotgun blast? Because it's like, it's fast, it's easy, it's available now, it's verified contractors. You know, what is it better to do that big shotgun blast, or should you just focus on get your job done today?
You know, there's crazy thing that you do when you're launching a brand like this that we don't talk about enough in our content, Jake.
Are you going to say the P word?
I maybe. No, I was going to say the market research word. You can. So one of the things that I used to do at my first agency, we did a lot of work with. We actually did a lot of packaging design. Specifically, we did packaging design for a lot of breweries, distilleries, and wineries. And what we would do whenever we go do that, because changing up their packaging is an expensive endeavor that's brutal, because you're not going to get a run of 1,000 cans. You're going to get 1,800 cases of cans per design at minimum, sometimes way more than that. So I think our biggest new package design order, so 1,800 was the smallest per new design. The biggest that we had was 138,000 per beer. Because, you just think about it, it's just volume, right? So the thing that they were terrified was, is this going to work? And it's so much capital up front that you had to make decisions. So what we would do is we would have focus groups that we run, and it was really easy to run these. We'd bring them in, and we'd say, hey, we're going to give you free beer tonight. We're also going to get your Ubers home because we want you to be safe. This is a good time. This is really what we did. I've never told you these stories. We'd have them come to a brewery that was like we were friends with or was a client or whatever. And sometimes we'd have to fly in for that. It was super fun. And we'd sit down and we'd go, okay, here's a whole bunch of different beer cans, beer designs, bottles, whatever. What are you drawn towards? What do you love about this one? What do you hate about it? And we go around the room as they're drinking beer. And one of the things that's great about this, when you think about it, is you're getting people's unfiltered opinions the more they drink. So as they go through, because alcohol makes us myopic in our approach to conversations, we don't think about future problems. We're just right here in the moment. And that actually lends to a really great result when you're doing market research. So we were able to go pitch some really bold new packaging ideas because of the feedback that we got in market research. So I think when it comes to what messaging you go to market with, I think that you test out a whole bunch of different messaging, and you have to understand who makes the purchasing decisions in a home most of the time. 90% of the time in America, a woman is making the purchasing decision for a household. Whether it's a single woman, married couple, doesn't matter. 90% of the time, that's who's making the decision. So if you understand that...
Hon, is that true?
then you have to have a high ratio of women to men in this conversation, unless you say, look, we're actually just going to market to guys, because we think that they're the ones that don't want to deal with this. And they're going to be the ones that are like, to the point of the name, it's a honeydew. Hey, you just got this lift from your wife. You don't want to do it. Your girlfriend, you don't want to do it. Call us, right? Go onto the app. And that could be part of it as well. But I think that you can kind of figure some of that out in market research. How would you approach it?
I'm just thinking of the campaign to men. Book your first honeydew, and we'll give you a free copy of Call of Duty.
I mean, that's a funny radio spot. It's a funny TV spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing it, babe. No, you're not. Yeah. You're playing video games. No, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. It would be hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was, the P word to me was personas. Building personas and knowing that you're going after different people. So like we said, with the older crowd, their advantage is I can't do this anymore, right?
Right.
Whereas you're going after soccer moms, I don't have time for this, but it needs to get done, right? I mean, heck, could you have someone on a honeydew come in and do 6 loads of laundry for you?
Yeah.
Like, the sky's the limit on this.
Right.
You know, we're literally, by creating this app, you are threatening the automotive repair or like oil and filters industry. You're threatening all of the home cleaning services. You're threatening every contractor available, every landscaper. There's a lot of people who aren't going to like us for this one.
Yeah, look, I think that anytime that you kind of go into a space like this and you start to disrupt the status quo, it scares the ever-loving ish out of people because they've had that whole thing where, like, I mean, I've seen this, you and I have both seen this too often, especially in this kind of space. I've worked with roofers that are like, man, I was crushing it with Google Ads for 8 years. And then all of a sudden, my cost per lead went 4-5x. I can't sustain this anymore because that's just the cost per lead. Now I'm in trouble. I can't make it back in volume. I'm having problems. And I've seen good businesses fold because they can't adapt to a changing marketplace. And so I think that part of the conversation here is, hey guys, we actually want to foster the change with you.
Be a part of the change, not outside of it.
Yeah, don't let us pass you by. Come in. By the way, we're cheaper than other sites that you're already advertising on. So
Angie's charges you $45 minimum for a lead.
That's insane.
Yeah. A lead. That's not a job. That's not a book it now. That's not a be here in 25 minutes and, fix my water heater. I don't know, but like,
and you could be getting charged $45 for a lead that pays you $160. If you use our model and we take 10% of the total fee, you could be paying $45 for a $450 deal.
Right, exactly. And I'm actually like almost into the marketing concept of like leaning into that, where all of our marketing is like, landscapers hate us because we actually show up.
Yeah. Yep.
Plumbers hate us because there's no service call charge.
That's the move.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it also lends to the, like, you as the consumer are not paying for 5 other leads that they didn't close in your service fees.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I also think that it lends to, like, one of the services, shockingly, that is really, really, really lucrative in this general space is pest and animal removal and remediation. So a lot of people don't know this, man, but like when you go do a pest or wild animal remediation, what ends up happening is actually getting the squirrel out of your attic is not that expensive. It's like a $300 fee the part that's expensive is they got into all of your, insulation. They defecated all over it. It stinks. You have to pull it out for health and safety reasons. And so what ends up being a really cheap removal of the actual pest ends up being like an $18,000, $24,000 full turnover of your attic. And so if you give people, to your point, Jake, financing and all that stuff, it changes the game. And then again, if we're only charging upon a real sale, I think that that's really compelling because we're not selling that lead for minimum $45, maybe $100, maybe $150, and someone may never close it. Versus with our model, it's like, dude, we want to get you as many people as humanly possible,
right?
Because we just want someone to say, hey, we're going to work with this group, pay the fee to them, and then we get the processing fee and we get the 10%. I mean, it's ridiculous.
The other piece of this just dawned on me that's going to be absolutely cage rattling is emergency services. My air conditioning went out, and you call the guy and he goes, I've got the 2 trucks in the field are all out. We can't get over there until Wednesday at noon. Is that okay? And it's like, no, it's 109 degrees today where I live.
Right.
I need that now. But if there's some guy who's like, oh yeah, I've installed 6 of these on my properties, that's like, yeah, I'll take a service call and go tell them what's wrong. Like, you could literally say, if like it's an emergency service, it'd be like 72 qualified individuals available now.
Yeah.
And I'm not making 72 individual calls to find who can come and look at it and fix it now.
Right. Well, septic tanks. So I had this happen a couple years ago. We were on a septic out here. We had a summer where it was just like person after person. Like, we didn't have a break. And so then we had a backup. And guess what? I paid out the nose to get somebody out here as quickly as humanly possible because no one wants that backing up. And it's like, to your point, Jake, it was a Saturday night at like 8:00 when it happened. So I had to call 7 different people before I found somebody. And then they were like, hey, it's going to be $750 because it's off hours. And I was like, I don't care. I need you to come fix it right now.
Oh, and like, I like this idea too much because I'm just thinking of like all the crap that you're like, I'll get to that. Like power washing. I'll get to that.
Yep.
Like, I just got a sign. We had garbage day.
Nice.
And this guy went around and put a card on everybody's garbage can. I'll power wash these out. It's $35.
Hilarious.
Like, that dude's hustling. By the way,
Yeah.
good job, dude. Like, awesome job.
Oh, yeah.
But how long can it take to power wash out a garbage can? 6 minutes at most?
Yeah.
You're going to make $35 and you're going to hit this whole street?
Totally.
Dude's going to clean up $500 in an hour. Easy.
Easily. Yeah. It's not, I mean, it's a little bit, it gets absurd really fast. Absurd really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a go-to-market. We've talked about the app. We've talked about some of the problems. What, in your mind, is the biggest roadblock to getting this going?
Yeah, it's the fundraising. You can't do this without a boatload of cash. So it's you have to have a concept, and then anytime you're going to go talk to a VC, you need to understand that they're not thinking about $1 billion valuation. They want to see a $20 billion market cap. They want to know that this is going to be hugely, massively lucrative, so that when they stroke you a $30 million check, they're seeing $1.5 to $3 billion in dollar signs on the back ends. You're going to have to flesh this out in such a ridiculously tight way that when they look at it, and you're going to have to talk to a number of VC firms, by the way. This is not going to be for everybody. One of the things, having talked to in the past 3 years, I've had conversations with 250, 260 plus different like investing firms, groups, family offices, VC firms, institutional. I've talked to like some of the ones that I've talked to, Al Gore's investment fund, as an example. Every single fund has a different thesis. They have a different niche. They have a different way that they want to invest. So for some of these, they're going to say things like, the smallest check we write is $30 million. I mean, that's true. I've talked to a number of those, man, where they're like,
sounds like a terrible problem to have.
But they're looking for unicorns. They're looking for crazy ideas that are going to disrupt markets, be highly lucrative, that they know have either a great IPO in the future, or they are a ideal acquisition target once they get to a certain size for a larger fish, and they know they're getting the exit there. So I think it's one of those things, man, where that's really the first mover, because once you get the cash in hand, you can hire the team, you can build up the app, you can go to market, like all those things. So I think first and foremost, man, it's got to be, you got to nail those pitches, and you got to find the exact right people you should be talking to. What do you think is going to be the most challenging piece to this puzzle?
When it comes to apps that require a critical mass of users to be effective, I think that's where I would be concerned. You have to, and especially since it's two different audiences, the timing on it has to be just about damn perfect. So there's going to be a lot of spend. You can't spend all your money developing this thing. You have to, like, you're going to need an army of people on phones calling every single small business contractor in a major metropolitan area to get that started. And you don't want to do it too early because they'll forget about it and fall off and it won't be a thing for them. And you can't do it too late because you need to be able to service the volume when you do go hit the major audience. So there is a huge critical mass timing thing that I think you'd need to really roadmap strongly before this thing hits the market. I don't think it's one where it's like you can just let it go out in the market and then start marketing. There's going to have to be a lot of planning around that.
Totally agree, man. And I think that's such a good point. That this is not, again, because you're trying to go get dollars. You're not going to be like, hey, we're going to take a lot of shots down the range and just hope that something hits the target. It's like, dude, you have to be dialed in like a sniper in a tree line. Like, this is crazy tough. Which is very different than other businesses we've talked about in the last drop, right? Like there have been a number of these where like, dude, let's try this, let's try that, let's riff, let's go like this, let's bootstrap it. Like, this is a different thing altogether.
Like one of the things I might do is I might find out how much it would cost me to get the founder of Uber in a room for 8 hours. And whatever that cost is, it's absolutely worth it, you know? So
yeah. Without question. And I think that's what he kicked it back. No, we are down to the last drop. All right. Yeah, I think that is the challenge, and that is part of the game here, is that there have to be people that you bring in that help you shortcut that. One of the ways you can do that is by hiring some of those people for a day to just give me all the things. The other way that you can do that is inviting them to be on the board. And then you get that intrinsic knowledge on an everyday basis. And it's not nothing. Like, there's some brilliant, a lot of startup people don't understand what a good board can do to really launch your business forward and have a disproportionate impact on your success. So either way, man, it's fun.
Testament. 4 years of stagnant business growth and I hired this coach, this total goober named Dave Valentine, and had a 10x year the year I brought him in.
You know, as my dad says, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Well, I was a blind squirrel and you were my nut.
Yeah. No, I think that there is something to hiring people that can help you get there faster. And people that can help you get there faster have been there before. So I think that that's key.
Awesome. I think we beat this horse to death. Dave, how's your rum?
So good. Y'all go check them out. Kuleana Rum. You can buy their stuff online, have it shipped directly to your door. Highly recommend them. Made by amazing people. It's all sustainable, organic, and it does a lot of carbon capture. So it's a cool project. There's no additives, no preservatives. I loved this rum. How was your drink?
Delicious.
Yeah.
Just
good, man.
There is a serious deficit in good rum in the market. So
Totally agree.
if you enjoy rum of any caliber at all, it's worth a try.
Totally agree.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for doing Last Drop with me and hanging out.
Likewise, brother. Likewise. This is a great way to end the week. And excited to shoot the next one, man.
Absolutely. If you really liked this podcast, you need to go follow us through the Vox and Coin Media Network. You can just search up Vox and Coin and get this episode along with our other great shows. Vox and Coin, the show, which is where Dave and I talk a little bit more business, as well as unicorn campaigns. If you want to see people who've had insanely successful growth stories, that's a great place to check it out as well. So you can get some awesome ideas. And if you do happen to end up developing the Honeydew app, you can send your checks to... No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, go follow us. Dave, if I want to follow you because you're my favorite person on the podcast, where can I find you?
Yep. So TikTok, Instagram, Twitter @RealDVal is my handle. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm super active there, and I'm always trying to put out more content. Jake and I are huge believers in quality and quantity. Jake, if someone wants to go check you out, because you are the wizard of marketing, where can they find you?
You can find me just about anywhere as The Wizard Marketing on your favorite platform. TikTok's where I spend most of my time, so do follow me there. But also more and more on the Vox and Coin YouTube channel or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you like your podcasts. So thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.